Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the old world. I hope you guys are all doing well, and today, guys, we're back with an Empire vs. Wood Elf showdown. It's going to be myself facing off against Zablasky, and this did indeed take place in one of the single faction tournaments. So certainly going to be a fun scrap. Let's go ahead and take a look at the armies. Here for my front line, it is actually going to be a couple great swords. So you wouldn't think that they're really good against Wood Elves, right? But oftentimes Wood Elves against Empire are going to go very heavy on Dryads. You might see Eternal Guard, you might see Dryads, but rarely are you going to be seeing more expensive infantry like War Dancers, Blade Singers, things like that. Maybe War Dancers, but even War Dancers themselves do lack substantial armor piercing. So if you bring great swords and they bring Dryads or Eternal Guard, you are going to dominate those frontline fights. But now that it kind of begs the other question. How are you going to be dealing with the range tools if you invest in such an expensive front line? Because the counter to really good infantry like this, right, is going to be Way Watchers, Glade Guard shooting them. That really sucks for sure. So you need to have some answers for those big threats downtown. So for that, we got Marcus Wolfhart. He's got 180 range, really efficient at shooting Orion and those type of characters. He can also snipe aerial. And of course, he's very good against the Glade Lords. He has some really excellent sniping tools with the Ember Bow and the Focus Shot. So I find that he trades pretty well. Now, this is going back to one of my favorite old school builds here, which is using the Black Lions to counter Way Watchers. With 250 range, with proper micro, you can usually keep them out of harm's way. And what this does, it forces the Wood Elves to come in and fight you, which is not what they want to be doing. Granted, some very good Wood Elf players can accomplish it, and they can outmaneuver your cavalry and things like that, but it really puts them to the test for sure. So the Black Lions are excellent. They can kill cavalry, they can snipe Way Watchers, infantry, you name it. And we got two Knights of the Blazing Sun, excellent choice here in my opinion. The fire damage quite pertinent against Dryads, and just a great cavalry unit in general. Plus the magic resist actually helps in the Wood Elf matchup against a multitude of threats, including Zotes. So that is it for my army. Great swords in the front, a single handgunner being the Silver Bullets, a bunch of cavalry, triple Knight of the Blazing Sun, and the Black Lions. So now for Zablasky, he's got Sisters of Thorn hiding in the trees, some Glade Riders. He does also have a Spellsinger of Life, and his main battle line is going to be Dryads mixed with Eternal Guard. So honestly, it's a pretty wide battle line, but my great swords, 3 great swords could trade really efficiently with most of this with proper cavalry support. So he does have a Waystalker for Arrow of Kurnus, which is one of the reasons why I stopped bringing mortars, great cannons, all that sort of stuff, because even if you want a Hellblaster volley gun, which in theory is really good, they're just going to use Arrow of Kurnus on the Waystalkers and the Glade Lord and kill it, and you're just going to be in the trash can. So in the back, he's got double Way Watchers, and that is it. So let's get this party started, guys, and have some fun here on the far side. He also has some Glade Riders with spears, and the first arrows of Kurnus are coming in, attempting to snipe my caster, and since it's on horseback, it actually does a ton of damage. So the Haggard Wood Elf sniping working quite well here early, and if you're worried about Arrow of Kurnus, you should probably put your casters on foot, but it's kind of a tricky trade-off here, because if you put them on foot, they can't really be in the proper positions against such a mobile army, so I really do take quite a beating there, which hurt pretty bad. So here are the Black Lions now shooting downtown. We're going after his Lord, the Glade Lord here, and of course Zablasky is going to be able to juke that pretty well. And it looks like he wants to stay here and maybe trade. He's probably going to get the Glade Lord plus the Waystalker to start sniping my Black Lions, which might pay off here, but you can see the first volleys from the Black Lions are doing some huge damage against the Glade Lord. And now Marcus Wolfhart, who of course does have stock, so at this point he doesn't know who my Lord is. Marcus is going to be creeping up and getting ready to use the Focus Shot and the Amber Bow, at which point we might even be able to kill the Glade Lord very early in this game, which is certainly very nice. It gets rid of Prey of Anathrema, takes away a lot of the isolation threats that the Wood Elves often have, and really makes your opponent pay the ultimate troll toll. So here it comes. This is going to be the Amber Bow. Amber Bow is the magic item of Marcus. It does solid, base damage, but the Focus Shot, oh, here it comes. Brutal stuff, and there the Glade Lord getting sniped, but there is a regrowth coming in. Not overcasted, so I was happy about that, and there comes I think I might have used Focus Shot first, which is a mistake. You should use the Amber Bow, then Focus Shot, because the other one does damage based on the missing health. So nonetheless, though, the regrowth would have saved the Glade Lord. Would have been more or less the same outcome, but you can see we're getting some big damage. So very nice early start. My wagons do take some damage from his initial sniping from the Waystalker. And now we're moving up. I know he's going to be coming in. I see Sisters pushing back here, all sorts of scary stuff. We're also using fireballs from downtown, so an overcasted fireball snipes the Glade Lord and does a bunch of damage. Feels good, man. So now Marcus is going to be switching his shots here onto the Waystalkers, Dryads and company getting ready to fight, but the Great Swords are more than ready to meet this challenge. Although a little bit of a Haggard micro on my part, I do advance the Black Lions to try and snipe his Lord. I really wanted it, but in doing so, I exposed myself to Way Watchers, which before the game I was telling myself, I'm like, that's the one thing that's going to cost me the game, is I'm really stupid with my wagons here, because it really is the backbone of your entire strategy. Now here, Knights of the Blazing Sun get a countercharge with the Sisters, and that should be a good trade for me. In the front line, the Sigmar Sons, of course, holding well. The Knights of the Blazing Sun did hammer in to help, bringing the fire damage to bear here, and you can also see Flaming Sword of Ruin going down, which is very strong in this matchup. and also is going to be giving me all sorts of juicy damage there. So the fire damage, Sigmar Shuns should be able to win that fight. Now here we do drop a net, so Marcus Wolfhart able to use the Hunter Snare on the charging Glade Riders, and that allows my Knights of the Blazing Sun to kind of resume their charge and get in there and really start doing some damage. And Arrows of Kernus once again trying to snipe my Bright Wizard, but this time I was moving at a little bit of a better trajectory, so I was able to dodge that. And yeah, the frontline fight's going great. Dryads are getting worn down, Great Swords massacring Dryads, no surprises there. And the Black Lions are still online, of fully operational Black Lions. They're not fully operational. At this point, they have 2 of 3 models, but it's still a ton of stopping power. And as far as value accrued, man, oh man, they do a bunch of damage to Cav. The Bright Wizard's gonna, I think, be dueling the Haggard Spellsinger here. I can't quite recall how that battle went down, but value so far is at 1,300, so they've almost paid for themselves. Black Lions, if I'm not mistaken, cost about 1,800. So if we can keep them going a little bit longer, that's quite nice. But it's not all about paying for itself, right? Because by having them back here, being a constant threat, you could see normally Zablasky could be in a situation where he would be kiting me, trying to pick me apart and things like that, force me into the bad situations, but now he's the one that's having to knock on my door. He's having to come in, I'm able to countercharge, my Knights of the Blazing Sun are trading pretty efficiently, having killed Sisters of Thorn, now able to probably finish off these Glade Riders pretty well. You can see both of them are crumbling, so the Wood Elf mobility really taking quite a bit of damage. Arrow of Kernus comes in, one wagon does pay the ultimate price, and the last wagon is going to be rolling away, but the Spellsinger of Life should probably get it. So at this point, I pretty much conceded that the wagons have done all they could. But it came at a pretty steep price tag for my opponent here. The Sisters of Thorn, both of them are pretty much trash can. You can see the Glade Riders with spears are in bad shape, and the frontline fight is actually going pretty well. The Dryads are all getting cleaned up, the Great Swords are still marching on and getting nice rear charges, so here they come, and that's the thing, man. If you can do that rock, paper, scissors, make sure the Great Swords, of course, when they're fighting, you have something to protect them from archers. They can do a lot of damage. So far, they're up to about 600 value, which is nice. Great Swords don't cost much more than that. We are able to break a Waystalker as well. So the Knights of the Blazing Sun now advancing in, but unfortunately my poor Sigmar Sons are falling victim here to the Waywatchers, which are blasting in and doing some good damage, but we do pull ahead here in the balance of power for probably the first time in the game. I would say it was relatively Wood Elf favored in terms of the balance earlier, even though the game was very even. It just kind of showed that way, but we still have the caster. We do have our Knights of the Blazing Sun, some spearmen, so I do leave these Knights in combat a little bit too long. They're taking a lot of damage from spears, but I figured the shock damage would actually break these guys, but in the end, the state troops will move in. They could probably win that fight just, one-on-one based on their numbers advantage, but we should be able to shock Cav them back in. Now, one of the wagons does come back, which is really nice, so that's going to give us some stopping power. I'm looking around, and Zablasky does have a couple units here in the woods, which could threaten the wagon. He's got the Sisters of Thorn as well as the Spellsinger of Life. So both of us are kind of falling back to our respective positions. He's gone to full kite mode here, which is smart, of course. The Waywatchers are now wasting the Great Swords, which is a bit of a problem, right? And that's the issue with my wagon going down. But I would say we're still in a pretty commanding position. Here, the Knights of the Blazing Sun push back the Glade Riders, and then they're going to be pulling back here. We drop a fat Hunter Snare. Brutal stuff. And now the Sisters of Thorn going to be getting charged by the Knights of the Blazing Sun. Lance is couched. Those sisters are going to be taking a ton of damage. Despite the Earthblood coming in, we should probably be able to rout them. And Marcus, I think, was trying to snipe the Spellsinger of Life, but she was a little bit kind of mucked up here. But unfortunately, I didn't have enough cav to protect all my angles, so the Glade Riders do come back in and finish off the wagon, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. As the Knights of the Blazing Sun, with the Flaming Sword of Ruin, surpassing the physical resist of the Shield of Thorns right here, are doing quite a bit of damage. Now over here we have State Troopers, not shielded unfortunately, so the Waywatchers will be able to do a bunch of damage, but we're just kind of chasing the Waywatchers, which certainly felt good, keeping them away from this fight, where they could be sniping characters and being very impactful. But it's still a very close game, despite the fact we're ahead a little bit on the balance of power. The fact that he still has the Waywatchers, and I think his Spellsinger and Waystalker have both come back, is going to be a problem, although we do get this character right here. I don't know if we'll have any way of chasing it off the battlefield. It's pretty quick. Elven steeds have 95 speed, and the Haggard horses of the Empire do have 78 speed, so we're not going to be able to keep up there. Marcus ripping a shot downtown, though, doing some big damage, maybe able to shatter that character. As far as the bounce goes, now it's getting pretty serious. The wagon does come back, but then it shatters instantly. I was like, no, that would have been so nice for just poking these Waywatchers, which are kiting me into another dimension. Marcus Wolfhart, of course, has no healing, and neither does the Bright Wizard, so I gotta respect here. Spellsinger of Life is juking pretty well. Another fireball going downtown, but it looks like the sacrificial Glade Rider Spear able to take that shot. Pretty huge, honestly. If we had killed that Spellsinger of Life, that could have very well been a GG type scenario, because it still is a powerful character with Winds of Magic and, is a threat here on the battlefield. So now Marcus and the Bright Wizard are moving up, looking for some new prey. The Great Sword's getting a little bit worn down here, but not before they get some pretty good kills. But the Waystalker does move into combat with them. A little bit risky for sure. These Great Swords do have a bonus versus infantry, so they could potentially take out this heroic character. -11. Bonus versus infantry really adding up. -42. Can we shatter the Waystalker? It does not look like it. It looks like this bad boy is going to be able to get away. And in the meantime, Zablasky, ever the scrappy champ here, He's pulling back with his Way Watchers as we do hunt them down with the Spearmen, the basic state troops, but he's done a really good job kind of rallying and forcing me to really waddle around the map. And it's tricky because, with Wood Elves, especially with the Way Watchers, if you make one mistake with your Lord or your characters, you can straight up lose the game. So even at this point, I didn't feel like I was truly going to close out the game. The two Way Watchers, of course, if they turn and I don't juke for 1 second, I slip up. Marcus Wolfheart can totally get sniped here. Marcus, though, rips a shot, is able to take out a Waystalker there. The Spearmen are getting rowed down by the Eternal Guard, as well as the Glade Riders here. Run down and rowed down, respectively. Now my State Trooper is looking a little bit bare bones, and I was looking at my army, I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling a little bit naked here, man. So we're going to bounce over here, try and go after some of these Eternal Guard. We can do a little bit of fast forwarding, as there's a lot of jockeying for position and regrouping and things like that. In the meantime, Zablaski is getting his cavalry, the Sisters of Thorn, up and around the back, and is going to be reuniting them with his army. And he still has a fair amount of ammo on those Way Watchers, and I have to say, guys, that was making me very, very nervous here. So all I have is some Spearmen, some very tattered greatswords, a fireball going downtown. I am able to nail those Sisters of Thorn. It looks like they might break here. One leadership. They're certainly not in a happy position. And those guys probably will be potentially breaking here. I hope so, because if not, it's still a mobile poison unit. So it's going to be able to chase off something if it breaks. But here we go. Marcus moving in, getting some shots. The Way Watchers are currently hidden, so I didn't know where they were. And here comes a huge shot, and he does go after the Greatsword. So I was grateful, because I did miss that with Marcus. I would have failed to juke. And now look at this. Zablaski pulls the bounce of power back by nailing my Greatswords. And here in the trees, he actually has a surprising amount of stuff. And Marcus is not like a combat character, right? So as I run out of ammo with Marcus, it gets very, very scary. So here we are, moving up. Marcus Wolfheart shooting, scooting in a shooting. Looks like he's going to be ripping a shot here as the Glade Riders do emerge from the forest. Marcus is forced to fall back, and my Spearmen are now being focused. So he probably knows that my characters aren't good in combat, and that Eternal Guard and Cavalry cycle charging might be enough to break them. Here comes Marcus, I think wanting to rip a shot into that Spellsinger there, but there goes the big lob shot. Oh, let's follow that bad boy. Here it goes downtown. Is it going to be hitting the caster? Nope. Very big miss right there. So probably should just be shooting at the Way Watchers, at the infantry. But now Dryads are moving out. And as far as my supporting troops go, I think I have some Spearmen here. But aside from that, I don't really have much of anything else. So this was a very, very tense situation here. So I do a little bit of juking, not sure where he's going to shoot. I drop the Hunter's Snare. And now Marcus is going to be ripping a fat shot here into the Spellsinger. But not before the Way Watchers just do so much damage. So I was setting up the shoot, right? So I didn't really have the opportunity to kind of dodge and move there. But here comes another shot. Maybe if Marcus can kill the leadership. -5, -17, and then the blasting scroll coming in from the Bright Wizard, which I was saving the entire game. You're able to potentially break off the leadership. The Sisters of Thorn are broken, and now we're just in a battle, and also some Spearmen come back in. We could most certainly pull this game back if we can break the Dryads off. The Dryads are really the big problem. They have high DPS. The Way Watchers in melee, 30, 30, 32 aren't slouches, but compared to the Dryads, we need to get those guys down. Their melee attack is 33, which I suppose isn't that much higher, but it's still significant. But alas, that is going to be the end for Marcus Wolfheart and his expedition. An insanely close game. Beautiful comeback by Zablaski. Just really shows that, tenacious play and good isolation and, methodical target picking is really, really strong. So yeah, it was a beaut for sure. We needed to be more careful with the wagons. With this build, it's very strong, but it's very much a glass cannon. If you let your wagon go down early, which I kind of did, or let it take a couple volleys, you're going to be paying the price. It didn't need to happen. Also, with my Cav, they all did great. 1100, 1300, 1400. The Greatswords, they both paid for themselves more or less, which is nice. Everything in this army did pretty good, honestly. I was very happy with it. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Bright Wizard was the right choice. Though Fireball and Flaming Sword is good, I felt like I was just kept... maybe a Deathcaster would be better with this type of a build, just to get that guaranteed sniping. I could have killed the characters off, right? I could have finished off the Waystalker. The Spellsinger of Life would have 100% been dead from Spirit Leeches. So maybe Death is better in this particular situation, because I already have fire damage, right? Do I really need Flaming Sword of Ruin on Greatswords, who already win that fight pretty handedly? Hard to say, but yeah, I feel like this is a strong build. So is Zablaski's. It was a really well-played game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. I have a lot of fun matches coming from those events, from my replays when I played in them, and you guys will be seeing those soon. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Well played to Zablaski, and you guys take care. Cheers, guys.